And I've got my kids, and I've got my family. That's all I care about. Nothing else.
They say that every child deserves a parent, but not every parent deserves a child. In this case, that sentence is not just a saying, it is a warning that was ignored for decades. The Darby family massacre did not happen in isolation. It was not sudden, and it was not unpredictable. It was the final outcome of years of unchecked violence, manipulation, and a man who viewed women as property and children as tools for control and profit. Mick Philpott did not simply fail as a father. He built an entire life around exploiting the people closest to him, and in the end, 6 children paid the price. Mick Philpott was born in 1956 in Derby, England. From early adulthood, his life followed a clear and dangerous pattern. He repeatedly targeted teenage girls who were young, vulnerable, and easy to dominate. His relationships were never built on care or equality. They were built on power, fear, and obedience. Over his lifetime, Philpott would father 17 children with multiple women, not out of love or responsibility, but because each child represented leverage, status, and financial gain. His first known relationship began when he was 19 years old with a 15-year-old schoolgirl named Kim Hill. At the beginning, Philpott appeared charming and attentive, presenting himself as older, confident, and exciting. That illusion did not last long. His behavior quickly shifted from controlling to openly violent. He beat Kim regularly, sometimes in public, knowing that fear would keep her silent. In one incident at a pub, Philpott struck her across the mouth with a pool cue, splitting her lip and causing severe bleeding. People nearby watched and did nothing. This would become a recurring theme in Philpott's life: violence in plain sight, followed by silence. The abuse escalated rapidly. Philpott used jealousy, paranoia, and invented accusations as excuses to hurt her. On one occasion, he broke her arm and fractured her kneecap with a hammer because she had shown too much attention to a baby she was caring for. While serving in the British Army, he would return from postings and accuse her of infidelity without evidence, punishing her physically. In one particularly disturbing incident, he shot Kim in the groin with a crossbow because he believed her dress was too short. Kim, still a schoolgirl, lied repeatedly about her injuries to protect him, a clear sign of how deeply trapped she had become. After 2 years of constant abuse, Kim finally tried to leave. In July 1978, she sent Philpott a letter ending the relationship. His response was immediate and extreme. He went AWOL from the army, broke into her home in the middle of the night, and attacked her as she lay in bed. Using a 9-inch knife, he stabbed her 27 times. According to Kim, he told her, "If I can't have you, no one else will." When her mother intervened, Philpott stabbed her 11 times as well. Both women survived only by chance. Kim's mother, a nurse, crawled to a phone despite her injuries and raised the alarm. Paramedics arrived to find Philpott standing on the stairs, still holding the bloody knife, calmly telling them, "I wouldn't bother. She's a goner. I've done a good job on her." Kim technically died twice during emergency treatment, once in the ambulance and once on the operating table. Surgeons fought to save her life after discovering collapsed lungs, a punctured bladder, kidney, and liver, and extensive internal injuries. Despite overwhelming evidence, Philpott claimed self-defense during trial. The jury did not believe him. He was convicted of attempted murder and grievous bodily harm and sentenced to 7.5 years in prison. However, he was released after serving just 3 years and 2 months due to good behavior. While incarcerated, Philpott wrote letters to Kim expressing remorse and even proposing marriage. Kim later said the attack left her traumatized for life and that she still receives counseling decades later. Reflecting on her time with Philpott, she said, "Do not say no to Mick Philpott. You don't say no to him. He doesn't understand the word." After his release in 1986, Philpott married Pamela Lomax. They had 3 children together. The violence did not stop. Pamela lived in fear, knowing what he had done to Kim. Eventually, Philpott shifted his attention again. In 1993, at the age of 37, he began a relationship with 14-year-old Heather Kehoe. When Pamela discovered the affair, she left him. Heather ran away from her parents on her 16th birthday to be with Philpott. Heather's experience followed the same pattern. Philpott became increasingly abusive, beating her for failing to give him a daughter and encouraging his older sons to be violent toward her. He controlled her movements, locked her outside as punishment, and once held a knife to her throat when she tried to leave. Eventually, Heather escaped by climbing over a fence, temporarily leaving her children behind to save her own life. Regaining custody required a long legal battle. She later described Philpott as a Jekyll and Hyde character, charming at first and terrifying once control was established. In 2000, Philpott met 19-year-old Mary Duffy, a young single mother who had recently escaped an abusive relationship. At first, Philpott presented himself as calm, protective, and dependable, carefully positioning himself as the opposite of the men she had known before. He offered stability, helped care for her son, and quickly became a central figure in her life. The relationship moved fast. They began living together, and when Mayreed gave birth to their first child, Jade, the following year, Philpott proposed to her while she was still in the hospital, framing the moment as proof of commitment and family values. Not long after, Philpott brought another vulnerable young woman into the household. Lisa Willis was just 16 years old, an orphan, and a single mother herself. Like the women before her, she was young, isolated, and in need of support. Philpott began a sexual relationship with her and eventually convinced her to move into the same home with Mayreed. Lisa became his mistress, but under Philpott's control, the lines between partner, caretaker, and possession quickly blurred. Despite the unusual and deeply unhealthy arrangement, Mayreed and Lisa formed a close bond. Both were raising children under the same roof, both were dependent on Philpott, and both were subject to his dominance. They confided in each other, supported one another emotionally, and tried to maintain some sense of normalcy for the children. In May 2003, Philpott formally married Mayreed, with Lisa standing beside her as bridesmaid, a detail that perfectly captured how distorted and controlled the situation had become.
Mayreed married Mick in 2003.
Will you take Myra Caroline to be your wife? Will you love her, comfort her, honour her?
He's 7 months pregnant with Mick's child on his wedding day.
Will you love her?
From that point on, Philpott lived with both women and a growing number of children in a cramped 3-bedroom council house. By this stage, there were 11 children under the same roof. Both Mayreed and Lisa worked outside the home, while Philpott remained unemployed by choice. He controlled the household finances, collected their wages, and claimed government benefits, deliberately treating his expanding family as a financial strategy rather than a responsibility. He actively tried to father more children, believing each birth strengthened his claim for increased benefits and a larger council house. When the council repeatedly refused to move the family to a bigger property due to housing shortages, Philpott became increasingly resentful. Instead of reflecting on his own choices, he blamed the government, social services, and local authorities, convinced that he was being unfairly denied what he believed he was entitled to. His bitterness soon turned into a desire for attention, and he began seeking out the media to publicly defend his lifestyle. In 2007, Philpott appeared on The Jeremy Kyle Show, where he aggressively justified his unemployment, dismissed criticism of his parenting, and argued that the system owed him more support. He openly spoke about divorcing one woman to marry another so that no one would feel excluded from carrying the Philpott name, reducing marriage to a legal tool rather than a meaningful commitment. His behavior on the show shocked viewers, and rather than gaining sympathy, he became a national symbol of welfare exploitation, earning the label Britain's biggest scrounger.
Today I want to discover the man behind the headlines and uncover the truth about the guy who has been branded Britain's biggest scrounger.
Listen, you're going to criticise my family, pal, and my kids. I'll criticise you as much as I want.
Sorry,
this is a free country.
Later that same year, Philpott participated in a documentary in which Conservative MP Anne Widdecombe spent a week attempting to reform his lifestyle. She secured multiple job opportunities for him, including work at a barrel-making company. Yet Philpott failed to attend even his first shift. Whitcomb observed that he showed no genuine affection toward his children and spoke about both Mayreed and Lisa in demeaning terms. Although the household appeared outwardly functional, the documentary revealed deep instability, resentment, and emotional neglect behind closed doors.
And I've got my kids, and I've got my family. That's all I care about. Nothing else.
Don't say so then. Don't say so then.
Can I just get if I could get the distribution of children right? Is
I've
that
got
right?
3 with my first marriage.
Yeah.
2 with another young lady. 5 with Maid.
Yeah.
4 with Lisa. And 1 with another young lady. And
Right.
2 on the way.
That's 15 now,
Plus-
and 2 on the way.
Plus 1 when I was in the armed services, which I've never met.
As time passed, tensions inside the home escalated. Philpott repeatedly pressured Mayreed to divorce him so he could legally marry Lisa, using marriage as another method of control. In 2010, police issued him a caution after he slapped Mayreed and dragged her outside by her hair, an incident that again resulted in minimal consequences. Lisa also endured escalating abuse. Philpott beat her, isolated her from outside contact, controlled her movements, and made it nearly impossible for her to leave safely. By February 2012, Lisa reached her breaking point. Knowing that confronting Philpott directly could turn violent, she pretended to take the children swimming and instead fled to her sister's home, leaving without warning. This quiet escape was the only way she could protect herself and her children. Philpott's response was immediate rage. Lisa's departure threatened everything he valued: control, income, and the custody of the children who brought financial benefits. Facing an upcoming custody hearing and the loss of both authority and money, Philpott devised a plan that would ultimately destroy his family. Alongside Mayreed and a family friend, Paul Mosley, he planned to set fire to their home and frame Lisa for it. The fire was deliberately scheduled for the night before the custody hearing. Philpott believed he would rescue the children, appear as a heroic father, regain custody, and finally force the council to give him a larger house. At approximately 4 a.m. on May 11, 2012, the plan spiraled out of control. The fire spread far faster than expected, racing through the house and trapping the children upstairs. Jade, John, Jack, Jesse, Jaden, and Duane all died from smoke inhalation. Fire investigators later confirmed that temperatures in the bedrooms exceeded 500 degrees Celsius, making survival impossible. Police concluded that the blaze had been deliberately started by pouring petrol through the letterbox, officially classifying the incident as arson and the deaths as homicide.
I can't get them back in the kitchen. Yeah, terrace house. Yeah, but we've got the police on the way. Have you any idea what's caused the fire? I've no idea, mate. The kitchen woke up by the alarm.
The community was left stunned. Many people defended Philpott, insisting he loved his children and could never have harmed them intentionally. Fundraisers were organized, and donations poured in for funeral costs. Yet behind the scenes, investigators began noticing troubling behavior. Philpott appeared energized by the attention, acted inappropriately while viewing his children's bodies, and seemed disturbingly detached from the magnitude of the loss.
And we can't express our gratitude to everybody that's been concerned with the case, with what's been going on. I've actually been down to our home, and what we saw, we just cannot believe it. We grew up in a community that's had a lot of problems with violence and God knows what else, and to see this community to come together like that, it's just too overwhelming.
Forensic evidence soon dismantled the family's public narrative. Petrol traces were found on the clothing of Philpott, Mayreed, and Mosley. A discarded fuel container and glove were recovered near the house. Covert recordings captured Philpott discussing sticking to their version of events and acknowledging responsibility in private statements that directly contradicted his public grief.
Tell me what you said to him then. What you said about how many times I went up ladders.
I almost can't how many times I went up the ladders.
What did you say about me trying to go in?
You tried everything you could to get in. I said to him I wanted to run through the flames. Upstairs.
What did you cry when you were saying it? How bad?
Not really, really bad, but I did cry.
That was hysterical. Let it go, then. You want Lisa. It's my fault that half the family's gone. It's my fault we've lost our children. It's my fault we've lost the other 5 children. It's my fault we lost Lisa. I should have seen it all coming, though. It is my fault.
There's a fingerprint on the window.
That's it. A few discrepancies. That's all it is. When we shake about, I said we were going to go out for a drive at night. I can't remember saying that. Vicky said you were stoned. That's it, we didn't smoke.
On May 28, 2012, Philpott and May Reed were arrested on suspicion of murder. Paul Mosley was arrested later after forensic testing linked him to the petrol used in the fire. Prosecutors eventually reduced the charges to manslaughter, concluding that while the trio may not have intended to kill the children, they knowingly created a lethal situation in an attempt to manipulate custody proceedings and financial outcomes. On April 2, 2013, all 3 were found guilty. Philpott received a life sentence with a minimum term of 15 years. May Reed and Mosley were each sentenced to 17 years in prison.
We therefore have come to the view that this sentence cannot be criticised. The judge was careful in reaching the conclusion she did. She gave very cogent and clear reasons for it. She assessed against her primary findings of fact the blameworthiness of Marie Philpott and arrived at a sentence that reflected that very severe degree of blameworthiness, together with the immeasurable harm she had caused by the killing of her 6 children, for whom, like any other mother, she had an absolute responsibility. We have, after an examination of the circumstances and a careful consideration of the judge's remarks, come to the conclusion without any hesitation that this appeal must be dismissed.
May Reed was released in 2020 after serving half her sentence. Mosley was released in 2021, later recalled to prison for breaching parole, and released again in 2023. Philpott remains incarcerated, widely described by psychologists as a psychopath with antisocial personality disorder who viewed children not as individuals, but as assets. 6 children are gone, not because of a sudden lapse in judgment, but because warning signs were missed, minimized, and ignored for decades. What do you think? Could this tragedy have been prevented if the justice system had acted more decisively years earlier? Were the sentences enough, or did they come far too late? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more true crime documentaries, make sure to like the video and subscribe.